Malika, you've been doing a lot of reporting around, right now you're in the Midwest, and we've now got, assuming nothing is flipped, and it doesn't seem like for these states it will be, but that Wisconsin has gone back for the Dems. You have Michigan, where Joe Biden in the end will have won with a much larger margin than Donald Trump had back in 2016. Tell me a little bit about that, and what do you think it represents, and what lessons we should learn from those states flipping back blue?
Well, for one, I think it underscores the logical fallacy that Joe Biden has been riding on, that he needs to win back Trump voters and he needs to win over centrists and conservatives and cater policy toward them. I think he felt that he needed to align with Lincoln Republicans, people like Rick Snyder, for instance, who poisoned or oversaw the cover up of poisoned water in Flint. And there were absolutely no convictions that were involved with any of those officials who were involved in that. And these are the types of Republicans that Joe Biden has aligned himself with, just to say that he was able to reach across the aisle. And so Joe Biden has actually been winning these states in spite of himself, in spite of the fact that he did very little organizing, in spite of the fact that he has not presented or at least campaigned hard on economic policy that can improve the lives of people across race, working class voters who have been decimated by deindustrialization, despite the fact that he frankly added somebody who is a pro-cop prosecutor to his ticket. In spite of all these mistakes, he's winning because there is such a strong, if you talk to most people on the ground here, or a lot of Black folks, working class people, folks of color on the ground, there is such a strong anti-Trump sentiment that you could have put like a non-sentient being in Joe Biden's place, and they probably would have defeated Donald Trump. And the fact that it is so close speaks to the weaknesses of that strategy, because after a pandemic where you had nearly 250,000 people die, it has to come down to nail biters in a handful of states. But he should thank his lucky stars that we are in the crisis that we're in, and that you have Black voters who are just so tired, and other voters of color who are just so tired of Donald Trump that they're willing to drag their feet to get this man over the line when he can barely help himself, and he creates so many unforced errors.
Yeah, 100%. And we don't have finalized votes and all of that, but it looks like, I think I saw sort of anecdotally, the Black female vote was 93% for Joe Biden, I think I saw, and 7% for Trump. I saw a breakdown of the youth vote, and whether you're talking about Black voters, Latino voters, Asian voters, very heavily in favor of Joe Biden, despite, I think it's fair to say, not a lot done during the campaign to produce that outcome. And I have a fear, let me know what you think about this. So you have these different philosophies about what needs to be done during the elections. You have the Lincoln Project with all their money and whatever. Let's get a few of these, let's get John Kasich's cousin to vote for Joe Biden or whatever. And then you have people who say, like they were saying during the primaries, that we need to value the Black vote, we need to prioritize it and all of that. My fear is that Joe Biden didn't do that, but that a lot of the resistancy types are gonna think that he did because the vote came out the way it did. And they love to say, they'll say things like, Stacey Abrams is a goddess or whatever. But they don't seem to be demanding that Joe Biden really have that perspective or that prioritization be reflective in his policies. It seems to me like this might sort of be a worst case scenario where the vote came through for him. It was both loyal and effective in flipping these states. And a lot of white liberals are gonna think, oh, we did what we're supposed to do, but in terms of policy, they didn't really. So where does that leave these communities and whatever they might want out of Joe Biden going forward, assuming he becomes president?
I think it's going to be very challenging, and I think that is a concern. You're going to have some liberal commentators who are going to co-opt what's been happening in the Midwest and say that, well, Black people came through for Joe, and they're only going to focus on the outcome and not the fact that you had a lot of grumblings on the ground where people said, I didn't want Joe Biden, I just needed Trump out. And so I think that message is going to get lost. I think it's going to help reinforce the idea that the Democratic Party elite can take a lot of these Black voters and working class voters for granted. And it might lead to him creating policy positions that fill cabinet positions with people who do not align with the working class whatsoever. I think he's going to be looking at Republican picks. I think he's going to be looking at more centrist picks. He's going to be looking at corporate picks to fill his cabinet. And we're not really going to be able to get at the issues that cause, kind of the reluctant support for Joe Biden in the first place. In a state like Wisconsin, for instance, if you look at the city of Milwaukee, it's 40% Black, 40. That is a higher percentage than the Black population in Brooklyn, in Houston, in neighboring Chicago. And they also happen to have the highest Black male incarceration rate in the country. They happen to have the highest disparity in COVID death rates between Blacks and whites in the country. They happen to have some of the highest income inequality and wealth inequality in the country. So I'm concerned that we're still not going to be able to get at the issues that led to a lot of Black people feeling disaffected in places like Wisconsin and Michigan. And just for the record, the Midwest has the worst disparities of any other region in the country when it comes to Black socioeconomic indicators between the Black community here and white constituents in the region. And so that is a very strong concern of mine as a journalist, but also as an activist. I do organizing work. And so I think it's really going to come down to not really what can Joe Biden do for these communities, but what can these communities do for themselves in spite of Joe Biden? Yeah. What can they do locally with abolition and with some of the economic justice work that is already going on here? Yeah,
no, I think those are great points. And so if people want to see more of your reporting, which touches on a lot of aspects of what you just talked about, they should go to The Guardian, correct?
I've done a lot of work for The Guardian about the Black Midwest. But I also did a short film. I produced a short film where I talked about this economic crisis facing Black Midwesterners. You can go to YouTube. It's called Left Out. And if you want to just have a short link, it's bit.ly/leftout2020.
Awesome. Thank you. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.